Well, good evening to everyone, and welcome into our Bible and Business. We're so elated that you are tuned in with us and will be joining with us, although streaming from different platforms, from Facebook and from YouTube, from Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, all that are on now. We're so glad that you are tuned in with us tonight. And we want to, of course, take some time out to make mention that I understand that we've got a little bit of a dilemma as it relates to our uh, time zone, but we made sure that was updated and pushed it back just a little bit because some people begin to ask, what about the Central, is it Eastern Standard Time or Central Standard Time, Mountain Time, Pacific Time? So we wanted to make sure we're kind of in the middle for everyone. So we're on now, of course, trying to make sure that everyone will, of course, get notified that we are live now. We're so excited that you are tuned in with us, and we want to make sure that we're of course in an effective part of what will be going on. So, without further ado, if you will, just do me a favor and make sure that you notify others that we are on. You can share this on your page. You can share this. We're going to have quite a bit of discussion on tonight that relates to your business, those that are in business or starting business. We're just so excited to see all that will be tuned in. All those that are just joining and that will be joining in a few minutes. We just want to make sure that you can get, of course, the notifications out. This will help us a great deal with our algorithms. As we are on live tonight, we are just hoping that everyone is doing quite well, and those that seem to feel as if they are a little bit weary and dreary in business want to hopefully that we give some information and insight tonight that will help you effectively manage what you have and manage the next steps that you'll be taking in your business. I know that because of being in business for so many years, I recognize that there are many challenges and obstacles that you have to endure, of course, to be the most effective agent in business, to make sure that you are, of course, on top of things and not just allowing things to happen, but you actually take time out yourself to effectively manage what has been placed in your life. And of course, we are titling tonight Bible and Business. Of course, I'm a pastor. For those that may just be for the first time viewing, I'm a pastor at Rebirth Christian Center International and network leader at RAMP. I'm so excited that I get to do ministry and business alongside of each other. And I've been doing both for a number of years. And I'm so excited, of course, to be able to share some enlightenment with you as I've learned some lessons and bumped my head and got some bruises in both ministry and business. But this is a kind of unique study on tonight because we're able to combine the two worlds together. We're able to, of course, do something quite effective as it relates to business, as it relates to those that are just possibly just wanting to maximize their potential, maximize what they feel will be most effective. So, without further ado, let's go ahead into our training on the night, because I believe that this will possibly help some people to focus in. As we're sharing, as we're all sharing, we want to make sure that we are, of course, good at this point. I think that we've shared, I've shared quite a bit, so hopefully we are getting out there. So without further ado, we're going to pray and then we're going to get right into it, because I believe that this can, of course, be some some pretty awesome stuff on the night. Of course, when we go into, we're going to talk about management. We're going to talk about re-engaging and re-implementing some things in your business, how to maximize what you already have. Some people are trying to come up with a bunch of new stuff, and they've not effectively managed what the old stuff that they already have. They've spent enough money. They've spent a lot of money, and they're still not making any. They're still not getting ahead, and we want to kind of help those that are looking to get ahead and looking to get out there, so to speak. We want to make sure that you are able to you're able to effectively do that without some type of negligence on your part. So here we go. Father, we just thank you for your loving kindness, your tender mercies that continue to be new to us every single day. We just pray, God, as we enter into this time of study, we just pray that business owners and those that are looking to be business owners, entrepreneurs, those that have an insight and are thinking about business, we just pray, God, and even those kingdom citizens that may not have their own business, but may be helpers to help others work in their business or family business. We just pray, God, that you give us insight and you give us revelation knowledge on how to expound on what you would have us to do in our specific task. Amen. So let's go ahead and start. We want to start by giving a little backdrop in what we are looking at tonight. There's so many times where in business, there's individuals have spent, of course, and they've rationed out lots of money. They've tried to buy courses online. They've tried to buy all types of lists, all types of, you may have clicked on an ad on YouTube and they said, subscribe, a one-time fee of such and such, and they charged you, a one-time fee to get something very minimal. But then when you're going through the checkout pages, you recognize that they're not just giving you that one time. It's the one-time fee for the basic, of course. And after that, of course, they're going to try to upsell something as it relates to what they're offering. They'll give you the basic package for, say, $69, $90, $67 or $97, $127. Generally, the prices, depending on what type of content it is, and they will sell something to you, but there's generally a course that's going to follow it, or something that's going to be more detailed. You can get the product tangible, but there's going to be something. Now, I always say I don't speak against courses. I offer courses my own self. However, I want to make sure that before we, as Christian entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs that, of course, that are going and we may be in para business, we're going from different scales of business. We want to make sure, of course, that we take some time to effectively manage the areas of business that we're in. Of course, if you are an author, if you have an ice cream truck, if you walk dogs, if you're a babysitter, if you have a daycare, brick and mortar building, if you do home health care, if you have a cleaning service, a janitorial service, if you do ride share, if you do haircut and barbering, if you do beautician work, if you do music or entertainment, even if you do ads and media, press media, if you're associated in any type of way with people, generally business drives people retention. You don't get and if you hear something that pops out to you, go ahead and put it in the comments, and this will keep our comments rolling. So we're so excited for all of those that are just now tuning in and will be tuning in. I want to teach you how to not just secure the bag on tonight. I want to teach you how to get the bag, how to actually get money in your business. I want to show you and give you some background on how I'm doing business, how I've been doing business over the years, how I've bought multiple cars and vehicles, different accessories in my business's name, established business credit, have handled and managed 7 and 8 figure accounts, not just with my former background, actually my active background in business and finance, 4 years of that under my belt. But of course, my experience in banking as the vice provost, when I was working at Washington Mutual, to the time where I started teaching, and I started teaching math and science, to being teaching high school math and calculus, pre-calculus, and algebra 2, to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So of course the numbers. This is something, of course, I've been doing I've done taxes for years, but business taxes, corporate taxes, as an auditor, of course, an assistant accountant, corporate level. So I love to, of course, help others to marginalize, and then in the area of business retention, of course, being a realtor, being a broker, and being an investor in real estate, I recognize how people interact with money, their relationships, their emotional relationships, their emotional intelligence, how they feel about money, how they feel about themselves. And so as it comes to a proponent of connectivity, I've got kind of a handle over the past years on how many people, the trail that follows. So I want to help you to get an effective handle on everything. So before we go ahead into the information, I want to make sure that everyone chiming in now. You've shared this video at least 5 times. I've got a reason behind that. We're going to be doing something at the end. You don't want to miss out on it. And also, if you just in case, those that are just stepping in, I have an email list as well, the Wealth Wake Up e-list. It's attached in the description on this video, right in the bottom here. You can go ahead and click that, and you can sign up on the email list. If you have not gotten any emails from that list, we start the new cycle on this upcoming Saturday, and you will be getting it on Small Business Saturday. I'm so glad that you've tuned in, of course, and looking forward to getting as many and as much content helpers as you can in business. So if you are, of course, tuning in for the first time, I'm Dr. Wells. I'm a pastor, Rebirth Christian Center International, and a network leader, business owner of multiple businesses, entrepreneurship to the max, of course, and Wealth Wake Up instructor and facilitator. I'm so glad we can effectively march into something that's going to be, we're at this halfway point. We're starting. This is the second day of the 6th month of the year in June, so we can tune in. Go ahead and shout out your city, wherever you're tuning in from. And I like to acknowledge you, of course, so that our viewers that are on the replay can also see who was tuned in and where everyone's viewing from. We are represented here on, I see those numbers popping up on YouTube. All of those that are that are populating on YouTube. So many of us that I see there on Periscope as well. Periscope versus not Periscope, Twitter. What I'm seeing right now, I guess Periscope by Twitter, those that are connected there together. We like to acknowledge you where you're tuning in from. I see Chattanooga, I see Texas, Texarkana, Texas. All right, and Washington, D.C. Just seeing you all yesterday. Baltimore, Maryland. All right, we have Charlotte, North Carolina. We have Greensboro, North Carolina. Seeing 2 different, they're going fast. Alabama. We have Birmingham, Alabama. Fort Pierce, Florida. Good to see you in the house. We have the Queen City, again, Charlotte, North Carolina. Is that Beaumont, Texas? Let's see. It's Palm Bay, Florida. We know by way of Orlando, Florida. Good to see. I see. All right. I see you from San Juan, tuned in, YouTube. Good to see you. Port St. Lucie, Florida. San Juan, Puerto Rico. We'll see you all real soon. And let's see. Okay. Distinctively. Okay. I believe that. Okay. Port St. Lucie, Florida. And then, All right, we have Arkansas again. Good to see you all. All right, where's our, there we go, California. We have Oakland. We have Oakland, California. Oakland again. All of our Oakland people. Good to see you all. Okay, we're all checking in now. Port St. Lucie again. All right, all of those that were tuned in, multiple streams here. Some of us see it on one page, but we don't see it on the other. So we see, all right, let's see, all of those. If you can hear me in the comments, if you can hear me, if you just put up a number 1 to make sure our audio is real good. If you can hear me good, just put up a number 1 in the comments. Again, I want you to know that those that are in business or those that desire to do business, this is for you tonight specifically. This is something we do with our ministry once a quarter. However, we're not doing it on our ministry's page. Tonight, we want to make sure that everyone, of course, gets it. It is unbiased. It's not necessarily based on a specific church. We're doing it universally for everyone. So you can tune in wherever you are. Treasure Coast, I see you. Treasure Coast, all that are tuned. Good, good, good. I see all the ones going up. I see all the ones. All right. All right. We are at 181 people right now. I think we can boost it to 200. Let's share. Let's share. We've got something special at the end. If you've, of course, just tuning in, there is a list in the a link right there in the description. You can click on to become a part of the e-list, the Wealth Wake Up e-list, and I have tips, advice, and empowerment for business owners on there, and some real good goodies that will be coming out on this coming Saturday for Small Business Saturday. Again, if you've not received emails, we're starting a new cycle this coming Saturday, so you want to make sure that you've signed up on that, and if you have not signed up, of course, you can sign up. If you've already signed up, it should give you a notification that you're already on there. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Repurposing, we're talking about on tonight, repurposing your approach. Lots of people get in business and they feel as if they're tired, they're, grogged down, trying to find out why in the world am I not getting anywhere. They've bought into a lot of content, they've bought books, they've bought courses, they've bought ebooks. They've been trying to learn, how do I wrap my mind around this whole thing about business without it being really, there's a placement within myself where, I know I can do this, but why is it that it seems like it's so hard? And I'm so glad we're having Bible and business tonight, so I can go in and out of Bible and business. Lots of people don't understand that you may have been, and you may be in your generation, your parents, your parents are with your uncles and aunts, all of them, and then you have your grandparents. But out of you, your siblings and your cousins, it depends on your first cousins. All of you are in another generation. So in your generation, you may just be one of the first, or if not the first, especially in your siblings, you may be the first to go on business. You may be the first to actually register your business, start an actual business, not just in theory, not just in your head, because I've met a lot of people, of course, they've come to boot camp, they've come to Wealth Wake Up, and they've come to even I Lead Life, and they've that we started years ago, and they come with a lot of theory in their mind. I've read this book and I've read that book, and I've read this one, I've read that one, and I said, okay, but what are you doing with it? Have you ever heard of Rich Dad Poor Dad? I've wrote the book by Napoleon. I've read this one. I've read Dave Ramsey. I've read this one. I've read this. And a lot of people, they have all these. It's theory based, and it's a lot of good reads. I'm all for reading. However, I don't necessarily like being surrounded by people that are full of, basically they're trying to get you or convince you that they value themselves on what they've read, other people's content, but they've not produced any of themselves. And I start kind of looking at those that were around and said, what type of people do you really want to attract in your business? Do you want theory-based customers, or do you want actual paying customers? Customers that come and window shop and just look, or do you want people to actually buy? Well, I would definitely, look for those that are actual buyers, not just those that are shoppers. And lots of time when you throw a lot of theory out there, you attract shoppers, you attract interested people, but you don't actually attract buyers. And we want to, if something in the comments, if you see that, or you hear something effective, or you like something as a reminder, mental note, go ahead and type it in the comments. This will help others engage as well. But lots of people get to a point where they feel as if, it's just theory based. They've really not marginalized, trying to effectively build something. They've seen, and heard, but they've really not. They've really not gotten to a place where they actually seem an effective part of how to build something, going forward. And so they're theory based because they feel as if, I can possibly just, I don't know, just allude to a point of, issuing out a bunch of quotes from an author that maybe lived 100 years ago, but they wrote a really good book that's been around, and it has a lot of good quotes in it. But as far as modern day tacticians, they don't know how to actually facilitate and put those to use. It's just a lot of good information. You can YouTube out all day long, but if you don't actually put in the work ethic, you're not going to get anything out. Lots of people are trying to still marginalize themselves around, theory-based practices and not activation practices. They've not actually done something effective on their own, stood the time test, and actually say, I can go against time and say, hey, this is not work for me. To declare yourself as an expert. Nowadays, that's pretty, a loose term. We have a lot of self-declared experts out there. We have a lot of self-made this and self-made that. The term masterclass is just a loose term now. We used to use the term workshop or seminar, but they needed a new slogan. They needed a catchy name to throw on there. They needed something marketable to throw on there. So now they call it a masterclass. And people that take master classes, they feel as if they're going to be masters as soon as they take the class and they get out of the class. And that doesn't necessarily happen. And they're trying to find out, well, I listened to everything they just talked about, but why am I feeling as if I don't have a level of mastery? Because usually those teaching master classes are amateurs. They're not actually people that have done it over the years, and they're not actually people who can prove you and show you their receipts over the years and say, hey, this is not something I'm talking about in theory. This is something that I actually have done and that I do every single day. I've produced it in others. I've produced it. You're not a master of anything unless you can actually teach it to someone and they teach it back to you, and they actually do it with the results that you've chosen and you've actually taught them. So if I've not gotten the results back from a person, I don't have a level of mastery. You may have expertise, but you've not mastered something unless your students can teach you back what you taught them and actually produce results. So when we go to a point, of lots of people trying to get ahead in business, there are lots of people that, what I'm so glad in is that I didn't take the shortcuts. As a matter of fact, my mentor and coach, one of my mentor and coaches, would not allow me to take the shortcut, and lots of people try to oftentimes ask, well, who is your coach? Who is your mentor? Well, that's the golden question. I don't tell them who my mentor and coaches are. I never do, probably never will, simply because I have access to them, and I'm not going to parade people around them because I know their time is valuable. As a matter of fact, my mentor and coach one of my mentor and coaches that's most effectively in my ear, they don't coach one-on-one people. They don't do one-on-one coaching. I no longer offer one-on-one coaching. I offer mentorship or group coaching, but I won't offer one-on-one coaching because I recognize that based on my market and my target audience, I recognize that most of those that are interested, they can't afford the coaching, and I can't afford to coach them because I will lose too much giving to them something that they're not ready for. Basically, doing business, the basics of things, I have to hand them over to someone that can actually lead them along the way. I rather send them some messages, type them, and kind of point them in the direction, because I don't make a lot of money off of setting it up for them anymore. That's not the level of business that I operate in anymore. Some people may hear and see that as arrogance, but I see it as being practical. When you are wearing yourself thin, when you are already running 6 to 7 businesses a day, when you are employing almost 20 people, it's a lot of people. It's a lot that you have to, a lot of overhead. You have some people couldn't imagine, an overhead, a business overhead spending, over $30,000 per month, not per year, but per month, and sometimes spending up to $15,000 to $20,000 per week, depending on what you're doing. Some people couldn't imagine that. Well, I really understand that, making a lot of money, it's a lot of expenses. Owning a lot of property, it's just more expenses. Now, when people get into the point of ownership, they understand that, that's why I love to drill in ownership. When a person is a homeowner, they take a different perspective on life altogether. They recognize that, having a home is not just paying a mortgage, but it's actually owning something. You're actually owning a piece of property in the earth. That's why, of course, Psalms 24 says that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. So if I'm going to operate in the fullness of God, I need to actually come into the element or into the realm of ownership. When I own something, and I'm so glad in my business I own my stuff. I don't like paying bills or paying monthly bills. Mostly what I pay bills on are subscriptions and payroll. But as far as stuff paying, I don't pay anything out. I don't have to pay payments on things. I don't like payments every month doing things. I rather go ahead and do annual purchases or annual subscriptions. You end up saving 20 to 25% anyway. But I like going ahead and getting it out of the way. Some people, at the end of the year, lots of times people need a reason to, pay. That's why at the end of the year, I have certain subscriptions that I go ahead and get my tax write-off on, and you're looking for things to buy and purchase at the end of the year, so you can go ahead and get that tax burden down to go ahead and write off a lot of this stuff. And so subscriptions, things that you can pay for annually, it will save you a lot of money, especially in your taxes. If you're going to have to give Uncle Sam in taxes already, you might as well go ahead and write it off so you don't have to actually, spend that in business. You can spend that in business rather than giving Uncle Sam all that tax money. How to tuck and push, the envelope in some areas legally without getting yourself in trouble and staying in compliance. That's why it's important to have, tax attorneys and then the attorneys in general, intellectual property attorneys. It's good to have a lawyer. Every person that's in business, I definitely am a proponent to push towards them having business insurance. Some people don't recognize that if they get sued, if they get, having an LLC, of course, yes, it is a limited liability company, however, or limited liability corporation. However, if you are to get sued, the LLC protects your personal assets, as long as you haven't pierced the corporate veil, however, it protects, but who's protecting it? Your personal assets are protected, but who's protecting your actual business? You need an actual policy to protect it. You need insurance on your business to protect your business. Lots of policies can start with Geico. I know a lot of people get Geico. They go through Navy Fed. You can even go through USAA if you're military, and find you an actual policy. Geico is probably one of the cheaper ones for the basic, just to get your foot in the door. There's some others out there, but I don't necessarily, understand that the A-listers and the bigger corporations, you usually get bigger benefits behind, and you can usually save more because they do bundles a lot. You can bundle it with your car insurance. You can bundle it with your, in any type of insurance you have already. You can kind of bundle together renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance. You can bundle it together. And so if you have business insurance, you're going to definitely save yourself a lot of time when trying to protect your assets. Lots of people don't get to the point of really understanding the importance of actually having business insurance. Super, super important. Why? It is because when a person tries to come at you, you can actually restrict them, not from just your personal assets, but you can restrict them from your business assets if you have the right type of coverage and the right type of protection. So let's go ahead and get into our 5 points, and then we're going to make sure that we try to smash as much content into tonight as possible, because we don't want to, of course, prolong, but we want to make sure that I give you everything that I've got on this subject tonight. So as we go into, you can take notes, of course, and make sure that if something sticks out to you, feel free, you can engage. But if you don't have insurance, of course, get insurance. Like today, tomorrow, they're probably closed now, but get insurance. Call Geico, get a business quote, business insurance quote. They'll ask you what type of business you have. Be specific in your business. Don't tell them, oh, I do this, and this, because they're going to try to rack you up on a bunch of different things to try to fit you under a policy, and it's going to rack your bill up crazy. But tell them the specific thing that you do. You don't have to provide all of the services you offer, but the bulk of what you do. Make sure that you tell them, hey, I have such and such business. And of course, if you have your SIA, SAACS number, your business code, or your index number, you can give that to them, and it'll kind of help you and if you don't know what that is, I can, of course, if you sign up on that e-list that's in the description of this video, you'll be able to get lots of information about how to list your business and the codes to list your business in. I want to give you to make sure you can not just secure the bag like a lot of people talk about. I want to make sure you can actually get the bag, because lots of people, they'll offer a course out there, but they're not going to actually tell you how to get started. You got to sign up for another course. That's going to bring another course and another course and another course. And then by the time you get it, they look at, of course, every person, they look at pulling at least $3,000 out of you per year. That's the effective number in marketing. Of course, you want a customer that you can pull out $3,000. If it's a recurring customer, at least between $2,000 to $3,000 per year. That's what most companies are looking for. They want to make sure they times it by, if they can pull out $3,000 out of 30 people, well, how much have they made? Based on the add-ins that they've, can offer you as well. How much have they made? If they can offer and say pull out, $1,000 out of just 30 people, think about that. $1,000 out of 30 people, they've hit their $30,000. Easy math. If they can pull out and double that and pull $2,000 out of 30 people, they've made $60,000. If they can pull out $3,000 out of 30 people, they can pull out $90,000. So anything over that, they've already hit their six-figure leverage. So what they're trying to do and Jacksonville in the house, good to see you. Lots of people are trying to get you to a point. They're trying to maximize their dollars. So the average that they're trying to pull for is at least $3,000 out of each customer per year. Now, what does that break down to? If you have your calculator, you can look at, and break down. If you just put 3,000 in your calculator and divide it by 12, that's $250 that you want a customer to spend on your business. If you can see that, if it's mirrored or something, anybody can see that. You're spending you want them to spend at least $250 per month on your business if you have something worthwhile. So if it's a subscription base, if it is a class or a course that you're spending, you're looking at what can you offer to your customer of value that they're willing to pay $250 for every time. Every time you get ready to do something purposeful, you want to make sure that you, of course, make sure you're not trying to rob their pockets as well. And if you don't have something of value of $250, generally you see, people they give, $247 or $267, or they give you these big discounts to make sure that you can, that you can, of course. They want you to get into a between a specific number. If you're a single individual and you're just self-owned, if you focus on making $300 a day, you're going to hit six figures in the year in your gross. You're going to hit that. Now, what I've been able to, of course, teach others how to do is to hit six figures every month. That's what you want to go at, so you can actually be a liquid millionaire, not just, and understand, if you can just do that, you can actually, there's an asset millionaire, there's a holdings millionaire, and then there's a liquid millionaire or a cash flow millionaire. Asset, meaning that you own at least $1 million of assets, and that can be houses. You can own 3 houses that all make up $333, $333,000, $333,000 generally, and as a spinoff, 3 of those will give you roundabout, add an additional 100,000 or 10,000 to, and you get $1 million. But you're going to make that in different areas. Thank you all so much for engaging. I see you. I'm going to read them just a moment. When we began to look at the effective part of just being an asset millionaire. Some people say, well, how many houses do you own? How many? Understand, if you own those houses and there's no note on those houses, they've now become assets, and the value of homes are going to just appreciate. You can't grow property, but you can definitely grow people. Again, you can't grow property, but you can definitely grow people. I use that in ministry and in business. I'm not trying to grow a big building. I'm trying to grow a big people. I'm not trying to grow, just a large infrastructure to say that we can seat 3,000 to 4,000 people in a building. I recognize we can seat 1,500 to 1,800 in a building and have 2 services and get the same results. So I'm not trying to house and pull in, a mighty army of 3,000 people, just to say we've got the biggest church in town and we can sit the biggest amount of people. That shouldn't be your goal, to look big. You've got to be big and not just look big. So what I'm looking at is I want to make sure, that everything that I do, I actually add up and I can show my receipts. Some people, they're looking at and they're trying to find out, how does he get this? And someone was asking, before, I didn't know he had that car, and I didn't know he had that truck, and I didn't know he had that. Well, they don't know what you have because you don't put it on social media. You don't show them. And so in my business's name, I've been able to buy things and purchase things using business credit, not my own personal credit, not my own personal credit cards, but my business's credit cards, my business's accounts, and own things in my business's name. Understand how the bank sees you. And of course, this is my former experience in banking relations as the vice provost at Washington Mutual. I understand from the bank's aspect, you don't own a business unless your business owns assets. You just own a name that you pay to every month, every year, for filing fees, Secretary of State, and you pay taxes on that business. If you, of course, are attaching it as a Schedule C and you're self-employed, you're attaching it to your personal 1040 taxes. Of course, they look at you as a pass-through entity and not a separate business. Now, if you opt in to become, you opt in to, to avoid being a pass-through entity, and you actually want to completely separate your business, and your business wants to own other businesses or have other businesses taxes pass through it, like a parent corporation or a holdings company model like I use, and you want it to be completely separate, and you actually pay yourself out of your business, so you're the only employee, and if you don't have more than 2 employees, you don't have to pay employee benefit tax, on it. So if you become that, and you 1099 everyone else in your business, and you begin to look at how much you can save on tax liabilities, you begin to see that, what, I'm going to do like Jesus did. I'm going to teach them, but I'm going to go far away. Jesus taught the disciples, but he went away and he got to himself. He regrouped himself because he began to strategize and begin to think, what can I do to actually, do something effective? And one thing I have to do is, say for instance, being a millionaire. That's become, for some people, people that are in business, they understand, especially that are doing business 6 figures and above, they understand that $1 million is really not a lot. 100,000 is really not a lot. If you're self-employed and you're making 60,000, you're just getting by really in business, because you understand that 10 to 15% of that already is going to taxes based on whatever write-off. Then you're going to have overhead and expenses, which is going to absorb another 25 to 30% of that, and you're left with half of what you actually brought in. But then if you have subscriptions and payments out and operational expense, that's another 15%. You're left with 35% of the 100,000 that you brought in. So you're only bringing in personally, you can only, your actual net is 35 yourself, but you spent 65 to make 35. Makes sense? So when people say that they've made 6 figures in a year, and you're like, okay, where's the Phantom? Where's the Bentley? Where's the, and people have gotten to the point when I first, the first time making 6 figures, I thought to myself, oh, but my bank account doesn't have 6 figures in it. My taxes says this, but my bank account doesn't say that. And I start looking and trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? And I started greetings to Alabama's in the house. Greetings when the first time I actually made 6 figures in 1 year, my very first time, I started looking. I said, I must have done something. Am I crazy or something? Like, I don't have 6 figures to show. My taxes said I made this much money, but I don't see that much money because I actually spent about $65,000 that year just to make and break even, and I ended up with 35 to play with. That was my money that I personally played with, and I brought in 35,000. So I was like, okay, well that's like pretty much making, what I was making when I first started teaching, 32, 34,000. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought I was supposed to be, real big, and this was supposed to, kick off, and I was just supposed to, just all this money was just supposed to roll. And I start realizing that it doesn't happen like that. And I start looking and saying, well, wait a minute. You mean I brought over 120 something thousand? I only got like 30 something thousand to play with. This is all I got to show for it. And I went back to the drawing board, and I talked with at that time, my coach. And I started, and everyone was like, who was your coach? Who was your mentor? I'll never tell it. And I said, well, is this, does this make sense? And he says, oh, you brought, you've got about 35% you know of your net that you said you self-employed. I said, yes, this is me. He says, oh, you're good. He says, my first year I only brought in 18%. And I'm looking at him like, what? You brought in 18% of your earnings in net for the year? He says, yeah, because I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. Nobody taught me what to do. I was losing money, spending money on stuff I didn't need. And I said, well, oh my goodness, so you mean to tell me I can keep making $100,000 a year and just basically replace my job? He says, yes, you're a business owner right now. Until you push yourself out of the business and you become a separate entity, pay yourself out of the business, and your business takes all the expenses, he says, you don't own a business, you just own a job. And the light bulb clicked on that day. The next year, when I brought in over $240,000, I started looking, I said, you know what? I think this is getting a little bit, it's making a lot more sense, because I retained, not just 35%, but I retained 55%. And I found that I had to grow myself out of the business in order to hit. So by the time, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you can hit multiple six figures. Yeah, but multiple six figures, how much of that are you actually keeping in your pocket? That's what a lot of people don't understand. And they say, well, he makes a lot of money. He has this and he has this. And they look at the cars you drive. They look at, you can buy this with cash. You do this, 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 and this, and this. And I keep everything separate. I don't mix hands with anything, so you don't, pierce that corporate veil. And oftentimes they look at what you have, but they don't understand what you got it for. And when I wanted to go to the car dealership and say, hey, I want that truck. And I knew that I was going to put a truck on Turo, and I knew that the price tag on the truck, I got it used, and it was a 2016, and it looked pretty good. And it looked like a 2020, 2021, but it was a 2016. But the retail value on that Range Rover was a much higher. But I recognized that the price had dropped down because of depreciation. And I said, you know what? I can get, and of course I brought in, of course, my benefits package, went through and got my own funding source, so they went around my credit. I had a separate account with my bank that they already know my credit score, so they don't have to pull my credit score, and I got approval through them. And when I went there, and said, hey, I'm ready. And what do you mean I'm ready? I said, well, I want to buy this truck, and I want to buy it in my business's name. And he says, okay, well, who's your, we can try to see, how's your credit? And I said, no, I'm not using my credit. I'm using my business's credit. And they were looking at me like, huh? Well, we don't do that here. I said, yes, you do. And so I said, well, can I speak to the manager? He says, okay. Went to the manager, and he says, the manager told me, he says, well, you came to buy something, or buy, what's the problem, Mr. Wilson? And I told him, I said, well, yes. I said, I came from, my bank name, private client. And I came, they registered me, and they said, oh, private client? His eyes got big. And I said, yeah, I'm cash buyer. I want to buy such and such in my business's name. I recognize that my business didn't have the money in there to buy the truck, but the bank was giving me basically a blank check to say you're approved up to this amount. And whatever they put on there, the price tag, so of course I negotiated down as if I was just, buying it flat out cash. He didn't know, because they were getting flat out cash. My financing was going private financing through my bank. I didn't tell them and negotiate them a price until I got it down to where I wanted it. I negotiated it down until the price that was on the window out there with this used Range Rover. I said, I want to get a truck for such and such price. I want that truck out there for such. And he says, well, with that truck, is such and such thousands. And I said, I know, but you told me such and such and such. And so you said I can get anything on the lot because I have such good business credit. And you gave me a price, but he wasn't expecting me to jump over there to the used cars. He was expecting me to go on a new car so that they could, of course, get a dealership fee on top of that, because they get double what they call double nation on new cars. So that's why they'll send you out the door with a brand new car, because as soon as you drive it off the lot, it's going to depreciate in value. But the retail fee and the dealer's fees that are added to that, they get that pocketed, and their down payment that goes right into their pocket. Well, because I wasn't doing that and I used business credit alone, I avoided double taxation. I avoided paying taxes altogether because I bought it in my nonprofit business's name, and I had sales tax exemption on that. Of course, one of my businesses is nonprofit that's registered. They look and says, well, you're coming with this and this. Yeah, for my for-profit and nonprofit, I have business credit in both of those at the same time, and I use for the sales certificate to get, to make the purchase in the nonprofit's name, but then a transfer of title into my for-profit's name so I can use it as depreciated value on my taxes, because any car up to 6,000 pounds, per year, you can use that as an actual business vehicle and actually get a tax deduction every year every year on any car over 6,000 pounds, as long as it's a truck or a passenger vehicle. They have stipulations to what kind of, if it's a cargo van or a cargo truck, depending on what it is and what type of truck. If it's over 6,000, you have different stipulations, but if it's under, I recognize it's a passenger vehicle. And what they did was they allowed me to use that. So every year, even though it's a used vehicle, I get to use that as a depreciating asset on my taxes every year. So I get to claim around $5,000 to $6,000 in my business on my business taxes for that truck, because it depreciates in value up to the total value of $60,000 that I can depreciate over 10 years. That's why it's so important and effective to buy a car in your business's name. You're going to get basically you're going to get earned income tax credit on your business, but in your business's name. And what you're paying for the car every year, you're basically getting it all back by not having to pay taxes out. You get a it's called depreciating asset retainer on your taxes. And this is how you actually save money. So if you're buying a fancy car, I'll never buy anything over $30,000 in my personal credit name again. Under my personal credit again. I'll buy something used, but under anything over $30,000, it pays to go ahead and buy it in my business's name. So my business owns the car. My business has collateral and assets to fall back on. I get a depreciating asset retainer on my taxes every year. I get to claim that. And guess what? Now my business has actual assets. So when I go to the bank and they want to see what your business has and what your business owns, you can actually show them, hey, I own 3-4 cars in my business's name. Then they'll go ahead and give you that $250,000, $300,000 loan, because you have assets to fall back on as collateral basis. If you came in your own name and they give you $50,000 for a personal loan, and you go to the bank and get a business loan for $300,000 to $400,000, and you can do more business with that, and say, hey, I'm coming because I'm a business. I'm not just coming as a person. I'm coming as a business. I'd be wise as a serpent, and cunning as a fox. I have to understand, but peaceable as a dove. I want to make sure every single time I go into the marketplace, I'm going in there as an expert. I don't want to pay a whole bunch of money for stuff that's going to lose its value. I might as well go ahead and put it under my business's name so that it can lose value under my business and I get tax credit for it. Make sense? So what I started doing, of course, is I began to do something. We're going to get our 5 points and we're going to get out of here. I began to redefine my vision so that it matched the season I was in. make sure that you can redefine your vision, because everything that you do, if you're not there yet, don't try to look like you're there yet. Instead of trying to look big, be big. Make sure that you can actually get the bag and not just try to secure the bag. I want to make sure over and over and over again that I made sure that I actually had some investments, some stocks, some mutual funds, all of that built up before in my personal name, so that I could be a personal guarantor when I first started. Now, when I go to the bank, I don't have to, come in the name of the bank. Now, me and my bank, we're partners. Once you go over to private client, you become a partner. An investment partner with them. You're not a buying investor. You become an investment partner, because they recognize you have so much value and you bring so much value to the table. They will go ahead and look for stock for you. They'll look for investments for you, and you give them an allowance every month that say, hey, you can use such and such and such off of my business dividends, and you can invest this, and you tell them what portfolio you want to bring it from, and they'll diversify, and they'll put your stock, instead of trying to fight against Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and get somebody way in China or Africa, trying to get your Cash App number, a name or something, and they go in and hack your Cash App and take all your money out and access your bank account, all of that. Instead of trying to go through an MLM, or trying to them trying to buy you into trying to get, and not fussing at MLMs, not trying to say that it's not an effective model. It works for some people, just not me. I don't personally like MLMs, or multi-level marketing, because I feel as if it binds me back to having to I become a slave to something. And I like being a free agent. I like being an entrepreneur out on my own. I recognize that I can be more effective and more impactful if I can just go ahead and reside in the season that I'm in. I don't necessarily have to keep going to the bank to get money. I go to the bank to invest money, and then when I do that, I become the hard money lender in certain sectors, and the bank will then call on me to secure certain funds, because each business, of course, each personal bank account with the FDIC, you can get secured up to $100,000, but anything over that, they rely on partners, and they say, hey, if you partner with us, then as a hard money lender, we'll pay you dividends, because when the person pays back the interest, the bank doesn't have to get all of that. You can get that if they use your account for that. Depending on where you want, the person never has to know where it came from. Depending on your banking relationship, you can actually sign up for different accounts like this, and the bank will actually be working for you. They'll secure up to $100,000. You secure the 200 or 300, whatever a person's looking for, whatever they approve them for, and they go to their private partners, and they actually approve, and they use your money to make money for them. But they're going to split it with you as well. You do that and you make money in your sleep. That's the power of being a private client, of course. At banks, you don't pay any fees. You don't pay the overdraft fees. You don't pay, because there is no draft. All of your accounts across the board, are completely benefited. And I see my god sister is on. So good to see. And she, of course, works in banking, of course, so she understands the lingo behind it. Of course, with the banks don't necessarily look for a person, just because you have on nice clothes. There are a lot of people that come to the banks with nice clothes that are broke and penniless. Their bank accounts are crazy. Of course, they don't have good money management, and they look crazy. So when we get to a point of really understanding, I've got to actually value the assets. So my first, of course, when a person says, well, you own this, or you own that, don't be afraid to tell people, yes, I'm a millionaire. Yes, I own such and such, or a multi-millionaire. If your assets equal more than $1 million, you're a millionaire. If you own homes, or you own property that equals over $1 million altogether, you own cars, you own houses, you own different proponents or big business assets, and the value of those assets are appraised over altogether over $1 million. If you've not got a business appraisal, then you're doing yourself, wrong on your taxes, because once you hit a certain level of business assets, you get to actually use those as residual dividends in your write-offs. We talk about 1031 exchanges and all of that. But there are so many areas in your business that you can actually use as a proponent and grow yourself. You don't actually have to use your own money. You can use other people's money. We hear in the phenomenon, a lot of seminars, they call OPM. I recognize a lot of people are not going to give you this information for free. So that's why I recognize every single quarter we try to do this for business owners. We try to use this as a tool, as a catalyst to help people to reinvent themselves. But one thing I had to do is I had to really define my vision to match the season I was in, because as I grow, of course I put that in quotations and bracket parentheses, as I grow, I can't try to pretend as if I'm there when I'm not there. If you're making 6 figures, kudos. That was your gross. But I know realistically you're not pocketing 6 figures. If you just made 100,000, you're not pocketing 6 figures. You might be pocketing between 30 to 40,000. That's it. If it's your first year in business, you might be even pocketing 20,000 to 30,000 out of that. It costs and it takes money to make money. But are you willing to actually do that and make some exchanges, form the right type of partnerships so that you can make money? The first time when I realized that I was an asset millionaire and realized saying, and people say, hey, give me $20. Well, I don't have $20. Although being an asset millionaire, there were some days where I had less than 1,000, less than 500 in my personal bank account. And I could not do this, and this, and this, and this, because I realized that I had budget. I couldn't go outside my budget. When you to be an effective person, to pay off stuff, you got to have an effective budget. And when I started doing that, with houses and with homes, what I started doing is I started putting homes on Section 8 because I knew it was guaranteed money. Section 8 was paying the mortgage, and I was making a little change on the side. So I realized that, a lot of people don't, they don't know how to basically, how to play the game basically. I needed a system in place to go ahead and pay my bills for me. I use other people's money to get wealth. I put stuff on Section 8, multiple houses on Section 8, because I knew that it was guaranteed money and they were going to pay the mortgage off. Is it a sin to have money? No. This is why most times I keep my ministry and business stuff completely separate. The two worlds really never meet most times. Some people like to combine, but I realize a lot of church people have been programmed to think that if you're saved, you got to be meek and lowly, and you got to be broke, and you got to sell chicken dinners after church. Our ministries have never sold a chicken dinner, never sold a fish plate. Not saying we can't, but instead of selling fish plates and chicken dinners, I realized that it's a liability, an insurance liability, and I don't want to do that outside and somebody choke on a chicken bone or a fish bone and they try to sue the church. Now, let's actually open up a cafe and have it incorporated and owned by the church, and have an actual cafe with insurance so that the church can't get sued. So where did it occur? It occurred at the cafe. Well, the cafe has hazard insurance on it, so a person can't sue the church, and we end up having to sell some of our assets at the church because somebody sued the church because they choked on a chicken bone or fish bone. Make sense? Well, some people have been doing it over and over and over. I mean, for years. They've been trying to, I see churches do it, and because that's my people perish for the lack of knowledge. It's Bible and business. But I've noticed over the years, I've seen so many churches sell fish plates and chicken plates. The reason why we personally don't do it, and we rather open a cafe, you may just have that one visitor one week, or maybe that one church person that sees that the church is doing well, and they say, hey, I want a piece of this pie. And they want to sue the church. And if you don't have all your ducks in the row, we've got to sell our church van. We've got to sell this to cover the lawsuit. We don't want that. Is this helping anybody tonight? Maybe some pastors, if you know a pastor that for any pastor, this is the word of the this is a word of wisdom for pastors. You can actually have an actual cafe at your church and operate during church business, during church hours, and it'll be classified as a for-profit entity under the 501c3. But it's called a 502. It's a for-profit entity owned by the church. And that 502 has its own EIN number, its own liability policies, its own corporate policies, its own operating agreement, its own operating board. It's owned by the church, but it is a member. It's owned by the church, and it is considered a member operating organization, and the church is the only member. So it's under the veil of the church, but it has its separate incorporation from the church, but it's controlled by the church because the church is its only member, and the church is its only asset to it. So it doesn't have asset connectivity with the church, but the church owns all of it, but the church doesn't have anything to do with its lawsuits. That's how you can actually save yourself. And some people realize, they try to find out, well, Dr. Wells, why do you do this and why do you do that? And, you don't give endorsements to everybody, and you don't do this and you don't do this. I have to make sure everything that I do is protected. When you've got assets to protect, you make sure you do everything you can to protect your future, to protect your kids, to protect your family. If something should happen to you and somebody wants to get, in their feelings and they want to come after you, you've got to be able to protect your assets so that you don't lose what you've spent 25, 30 years trying to get, in 3 months because a person got offended by something you said. Nope. Everything that I do is separate. I do this business operation, that's separate from my public speaking, my books, all of that, that's completely separate. My speaking, all that, separate. And then I become a business. Not just my holdings corporation, but I become a business myself. So it's not just, the guy in ministry or the pastor but I become myself. I personally become my own self, my name, LLC. Your name, LLC. When you get, of course, a corporate model and a holdings corporation model, you yourself can become a business. You don't just have a business, but you yourself. For instance, Mary Jo, LLC. Jason Walker, LLC. Gary Newsom, LLC. Parrish Memminger, LLC. Emerald Memminger, LLC. Sunshine Beamer, LLC. Harriet Gordon, LLC. Eugenia Tate, LLC. Roz Jones, LLC. Teresa Young, LLC. Adrian Young, LLC. All of these, you can actually have an LLC and you yourself become a business. So your hair is a business expense. Your uh, uh, your clothes, that's called a uniform expense on your taxes, so you can write that off. You need glasses, that's proponent expenses, something that you need to actually do work. That's a write-off. So you yourself, you have your separate operational business, but then you have what you call your personal asset business. And then you yourself become the business. You yourself become an asset to your portfolio. You can actually write off everything. My shoes, that's an expense. That's a uniform expense because it's used for work. And I myself am a business. So what I do is my clothes, that's a write-off. My shoes, my glasses. If you want a bottle of water, that's a write-off. You can literally write off everything that you do when you're in business. Working a regular job, you couldn't do that without a business. Now, there are people that are going to still work a regular job, but they're going to have a business on the side. You can do that too and still write off like crazy. Everything that you do in business, you get to write that stuff off. This is what the rich do. You write off everything. They themselves are a business, and then they have a business. But they themselves, if I want to go on vacation, guess what? I get to go on vacation because I'm a business and I need to travel somewhere. So guess what? My body needs a hotel room to stay in overnight. So guess what? I am my business's only asset. Not the business that I run, but the business that I am. Does that make sense? This is a business. I operate a business. I have a business. I got another business over here and another business. So by the time you get that model together, you can have 4 different businesses going on under one umbrella. And what I do, of course, what I'm going to offer, of course, those that I'm going to offer coming up real soon is how to actually structure this. And this is the free stuff. But how to actually structure this is I have training content on how to actually do this. It's a full-length training on how to actually do all of this. What forms you need to send into the IRS, what you need to do. And you look out there and try to search online, they're not going to tell you. Because people don't want you to, they don't actually want you to know. This is what private client would tell you, how to save yourself on taxes. You can have 5 and 6 businesses and pay taxes one time. Have all of your businesses funnel through using an umbrella model or a holdings corporation or a parent company model. 3 different types of models, but for 3 different reasons. You can have all of that going on. Have multiple businesses under one umbrella, so each business is liable for itself. If I'm doing hair and I'm cutting hair, I can't use the same business name if I'm opening up a restaurant or a catering business. There's 2 different categories and 2 different tax categories. I have to operate completely separate businesses, but I want to make sure that each of those have their own expenses, their own insurance policy, their own bank accounts, and I use them all to flow into one to pay taxes one time. That means redefining your vision to match your season. Is this helping somebody? Give me just a little bit more time so we can tell me how much time do I have, everybody. Let me know how much time do I have. After redefining your vision, number two, I want you to reevaluate your thinking concerning your marketability. You've got to do this in order to make sure that you can be marketable. How much time do I have? Make sure that you're marketable. Anything that you do, effective. And as I always say, a business with no sign is a sign of no business. Adopted from my grandfather. He passed away a few months ago. But he was such a big, really, he was my inspiration on how I got started in real estate. Because he actually exemplified and showed me and I own seemed like about half the town. But he actually showed me. It wasn't my direct business mentor, but it was an inspiration on how to get started. He actually showed me, what to do to get started. The times when we begin to really think about reevaluating our thinking concerning our marketability, it is so important. Why? Because when you are marketable, when you're properly marketable, and you begin to think about the actual market that you're going into, I have to begin to really evaluate thinking and ask yourself, if I'm going to be marketable. Thank you all so much for sharing. Thank you all so much for sharing. Let's see, church titles. Help me out with that. A little more clarity. How do I operate church titles in my business? There was another question too. I'm going to go back and try to see those questions. Somebody asked a question earlier. I want to make sure that I seen it pop up, but I didn't address it right then. Reevaluate. If you put that question in there one more time and give a little more breakdown on it, so I can expound on it. But reevaluating your thinking concerning your marketability is so important. Did you know that there are some people that actually think that they know everything? Now, we know that nobody knows everything, but there's actually some people that think they do. And this is the reason why there's a lot of people in business, and that have been in business a long time. They don't actually want to share, basically, because when you run into a brick wall, people church tithes into. Okay, good. I kind of thought that's what. Hold that and then come to this question. My tithe. What I do is I personally tithe, and then my business tithes as well. So I tithe and my business tithes. If it is a corporate model, then I tithe one time out of all of that combined, and I tithe out of that, and then I personally tithe. That's how I do when I tithe. But I realize that especially if I'm to be grounded in my marketability, there are some people, they feel as if the only thing that they want to, of course, accomplish is the look. They just got to have the look. And everyone knows what I'm talking about, that look. They just got to have that look. Thank you all so much for sharing and sharing again. Sometimes you have to go out and share again. But there are some people, you can even inbox and share. But there are some people, they feel as if the only thing that they're going to listen to is what they could get for themselves. I know that we are in a do-it-yourself generation. It's called cancel culture. If you don't get with them, they cancel you out, basically, and you're ineffective because none of them want to listen to you, or they feel as if you're doing. But I looked at, I think I spoke about this on last week. They said that 90% of the millennials don't want to go back to a regular job or the regular set of a job. It's so dangerous, because when we begin to think about who's going to fill those spots, who's going to fill we have a lot of older people. You see the old grandmas, they're about 80, 90 years old, seem like, and they're barely able to push carts, but they're putting bags together. In other countries outside of America, they don't do that. They take care of their older because they work so hard. They're taught. They don't have social security systems over there to rely on. Their kids and grandkids take care of their parents and grandparents. In America, because of the system's not broke, it was built this way. It's to keep lower class impoverished and upper class rich. It was built this way. From the very beginning, it was built this way. So if you don't pierce that veil of becoming the upper class, and you actually start hitting, the six figures and above, if you're not making in your business, if you're not making between $8,000 to $10,000 per month in your business, we need to talk. Because honestly, your expenses are going to be such an overhead for you until you're not going to be able to basically, after a while, with of course inflation, and you keep making the same exact money every year, people are like, oh my gosh, I've got less and less to spend every year. You've got to actually get to the point of trying to figure out, what do I need to do? I need to add to what I'm doing. We're talking about repurposing our approach. Think about marketability. If you are in front of people all the time and you're talking all the time, a good thing or a good additive to do for you, if you're constantly talking and you're constantly touching and actually making a person-to-person, one-on-one contact or group contact with people, and they see you all the time, and you have a speaking job, or you have something or a speaking business that you're constantly in front of people, one good thing that I would add to my portfolio is a book. Very easy to process, but very hard to market if you don't know what you're doing. I've seen people write books and they go nowhere. The average author, the average modern day author, only sells less than 500 books in their entire book's lifetime. Their entire book's lifetime. With my books, I recognize, and I've been able to repurpose them, pull them offline, go back into it, redo covers, redo content, update content, all of that, get, corporate and intellectual property protection on everything, pull everything down, everything down, and then push everything back out. I recognize the way how I had things set up, it wasn't going to work. I was losing too much money because people were stealing. And I get it, being an apostolic gift to the body of Christ. My job is to be a blueprint. My job is to be a template to show people how to do it. Real apostles don't fan around and swirl around and have people fanning them and making them look, like they're the big bishop or the big, but real apostolic gifts don't just show you what to do, but they actually show you how to do it. They don't show you what to do, they show you how to do it. Real apostles. Now, some people, we have elevated evangelists or experienced evangelists that have brain confusion. They feel as if because they've been doing it for so long and they travel and move around like the apostle does lots of time, they feel that they're just going to elect themselves and find one of their friends to affirm them and have a affirmation ceremony and wear a bunch of clothes that they don't know what to do, and they look like a Catholic pope, and that's it. They don't know what to do with it. They don't even know how to pronounce. They don't know how to spell Shamir or what a Zucchetta or mitre is. They have no clue. All they know is, I want one of them apostle hats. I want one of them bishop hats. One of them robes. Some of them things you put around your neck, and give me the colors. They have no clue on what they're doing. Nothing. And most of the people that are affirming them, they don't know what they're doing. And a lot of this stuff, because of high positions, is causing unnecessary warfare in these people's lives because they want the big look. It's that look that they want. They got to look powerful. They got to look like they're big and look like they're big and posters. Real apostles actually show you how to do it. We used to sing that song, "This is how you do it." That was back in the 90s. And you think about, well, what am I to do? If they're not showing you, one of the earmarks of apostleship is entrepreneurship. If you are in an apostolic ministry, apostolic house, and that apostle does not show you how to actually produce streams, does not speak to your economy, does not have, if they're not an entrepreneur themselves, if they don't have some type of stream that's producing an income for them, or they bring a person in to show and teach courses and teach people how to start businesses, teach people how to become more, they're not a developer. As apostolic gifts, we are about the businesses of development. We develop people. And a part of developing people is developing their finances and showing them how to actually get wealth. Deuteronomy 28 says that he says, and I will give you the power to get wealth. I shall give you and release unto you the power to get wealth. Some people don't know how to get wealth because they're not being taught about wealth. And they feel as if, oh, I just got to work my few hours and get this paycheck. If you're in front of people all the time, write a book. Don't write a book about something you're trying to impress or something you're aspiring to be. Become the authority before you instate the authority. Again, become the authority before you try to instate the authority. If people don't know you to be a barber, but you aspire to cut hair on the side, you probably shouldn't write a barbering book. If people don't know you to teach on a specific topic, you probably shouldn't write on that topic until you start operating in it. When you operate in a specific topic, and you've become, and people don't look at you as a novice, so your social proof is going to say everything about you. If they look at you as a novice, it's not going to effectively, bring you any brownie points. And they look at you like, what? Okay. Say, for instance, I'm a singer. If I write a book about worship and about singing, and, worship intercession and how I connect with God through singing, that is a more appropriate type of book. Until I build myself in the season of my marketability, where are you and how can you actually build yourself? I don't want to write something that's completely off topic and out of sync with who I am and how I'm identified in the marketplace. I've got to actually write something that people actually take me serious about, because it will flow and sync with who I am so that I can build into the season that I'm going into. Lots of people can get offended when you tell them, and of course the truth offends. And because I'm a truth teller, I recognize people are going to get offended by some stuff that I say, and I'm good with that. I tell them I got scripture to prove it. Let's back it up. Let's go to the Bible. I didn't invent it. It's in the Bible. Let's go to it. We're going to get the scripture. We're going to show it to you. So you can't argue with the word of God. You can argue at it, but you can't argue with it. Because it's spoken. It is supreme. It's going to weigh any words we ever have to say. So when I think about, and I put my business as a reflection against the word of God, what does God say about what I'm doing right now in business? So anything that I do, am I taking on the marketability to be popular, or am I trying to primarily be effective? That's an important facet of what I've got to look in. Let's get to point 3. That's a point that I've got to look at my marketability. But at the same time, I've got to make sure that I can also realign myself with the most effective partnership and business relationships. Now, we mentioned partnerships earlier, but partnerships are different. Business relationships are a type of partnerships, or singular, a type of partnership, but it is not necessarily the only. So I have partnerships and business relationships, because all business relationships may not be a partnership. I don't necessarily want to be a lifelong partner with a person if they have bad tendencies. If a person is a customer, I serve them once. If they're a returning customer that frequents my business, they become clients. If I'm providing they're a reoccurring customer if I'm providing goods, but if I'm providing services, they're clients. Make sense? Goods produce customers. Service produce clients. If I'm selling lollipops, I have customers because I'm producing goods. I'm producing products that they're buying. They're patronizing products. If I have a store, they're buying products. And when they buy products, they're customers. But when I provide services like a beautician or a graphic designer or a tax preparer, those are clients because they're going to keep coming back reoccurring. Make sense? Make sure if you can still hear me, put up a 1 in the comments. Make sure that are we still good on the microphone? You can still hear me. Just put up a 1. All right. As they say, is this thing on? Make sure if our audio is still going good. Make sure that the most effective partnerships that you have, if you're going to go in business with someone and do business with someone, you want to make sure that they have the tendencies that you're compatible for. Not necessarily the tendencies you're compatible with. Thank you so much. Okay, good. I'm getting the ones. Right, the ones that are up. For everyone that's still hanging out with us, we want to make sure, of course, that you have all the content that you can get with this. Marketability and partnerships, this is so important because people, of course, you don't necessarily want to deal with a person if they're inconsistent or they have inconsistent behavior. It's not going to be effective on your part, and you want to make sure that, of course, that people actually take what you're doing serious, and they're not they're basically not using something against. You want to make sure that they're actually using something effective. And when they do something effective, you want to make sure, of course, that you want to make sure, of course, that it doesn't embarrass you and it doesn't make a reproach against your business as well. You want to make sure over and over and over again that people actually see you as a proponent, as an effective proponent of what you're actually going after. All right. So let's go to while we're in this, let's go to the point number 4. Point number 4. And just like in the comments, there's good business and bad business people. I've definitely seen both of them. I've had my share of dealing with both of them. Some people you never want to do business again with because you recognize they are wreckers. They're home wreckers, they're business wreckers, everything that they do. Some people, they just have bad relation skills. They have bad relational habits. Some people, they make everything difficult because it's got to be their way. Those are people that are worst in relationships, period. Business relationships, marriage relationships, friendships. Generally, when you see those habits in people where they become relationally toxic, as I call it, they don't hold on good to partnerships. It's got to be their way and their way only. And then generally they attract another person because they feed off of each other, and they don't even know how to really see what each other is doing to each other. They're basically making each other more and more toxic. It's got to be my way or the highway. If you do this, then I'll do that. If you do this, it's not, they have no real flowing relationship going on. They're making each other more and more and more toxic. And sad to say, businesses can, fall apart when people do that. But generally, when that happens in marriage, we know the D word, what happens. And that's not, actually, that's not God's idea of marriage. Moses created that D word for the people, but God didn't create that. Moses created that. It's a man-made creation. You like actually stand before God. You stand before God because you took vows before God. And if you're a man in business, understand that is your queen. It's your job as a man of God. It's your job to make sure that her queen status is effective to meet your king status. The type of queen you have it depends on the type of king you are. The type of queen you are depends on the type of king you are. You are each other's biggest project. And the most effective part of what you're ever going to build is what you do in each other. Once you said yes before God, guess what? Everything that man wears when he comes out of the house, it's a reflection of you. If his clothes look tacky, guess what? You let him leave like that. His clothes look bad, you let him leave like that. If her hair looks horrible, guess what? That's your fault. Because you didn't get her hair done. And if people talk about her, that's your fault. They talking about your queen. It's an insult to your whole castle. They're talking about her because of what you allowed. Well, you don't know. My wife doesn't like this. Well, think about it. There's some other stuff that you got to work through before you can get that and yield to each other. A lot of people are unyielding. That's why they're horrible in business. They can never be effective in business because they're unyielding. You have to come vulnerable when you're in partnerships, vulnerable to each other's vulnerabilities. Especially those that are husband and wife in business. If you can't be vulnerable in business, you will never. Vulnerable in marriage, you can never be vulnerable to each other in business, especially husband and wife trying to do business together. You will never. Everything that you do, guess what? It's a reflection of your household. And if she looks tacky, it's because you let her be tacky. And that means that something on the inside of you says that it's okay for her to be tacky. Because you don't address her as a queen. You address her as beneath you. You got your haircut. You've got your nice clothes on. But she looks tacky. You don't do the surprise gifts for her and pop up with things. Give her a house to make a home. Put her in something that's nice and effective. Something that lasts. Something that won't tear up. Show her how to do stuff. Teach her how to do manly stuff. She don't listen. She don't want to do this. Well, guess what? Start showing her. Eventually she will. Eventually she'll stop fighting you. Well, he doesn't know how to cook. He doesn't know how to do this. Well, blow his mind. Make a meal that makes him lick his fingers. He wants you to cook every night then. It's stuff that you got to yield to each other with. And stop fighting each other so that you can be effective. Because guess what? God will not bless your business if you can't bless your mate. You can't bless your spouse. You talk to your spouse and talk crazy. Guess what? You talking to what God gave you. So if you call your spouse stupid, you calling God stupid. His decision stupid. What he blessed, what he joined together. You calling what he joined together stupid. You call your spouse an idiot. Guess what? You calling what God made an idiot. So how's God to respond to you if you cursing what he blessed? You cursing your own union. Think about it. We still saved. Think about it. Just say ouch or amen or something. But there's a lot of people, they can't be effective in their business. They're trying to figure out, why are we missing stuff? Everybody else is getting blessed but us, and everybody else is getting this but me. How are you treating your spouse? And if you're not married, how are you treating your relationship, your private relationship with the Lord? When you get up in the morning, do you speak to him? Or do you just go out of the house? Think about waking up every morning and not speaking to your spouse. Just getting ready, going out the house. They don't know how your day was, how your sleep was, anything about, and you come in the house, you don't speak to them. Think about this. The amount you speak to God is just like if you're single, God is your spouse. And if you don't talk to him, it's evident of why you don't talk to your spouse. If you got relational hardships with God, you're going to have relational hardships with your spouse, and vice versa. That's the reason why a lot of people are going through. They can't break through in business because they don't do maintenance at home. It's horrible. They crammed up. You can't deal with the issues at home, but when we come to church, we like to look good, and we like to make sure that people see us as good business owners, and we're just rich, and we got all kind of problems, and the kids, they need soap in the bathroom, and I don't teach my kids work ethic because I'm so busy being rich, and I'm so used to being popular, and I got to get on social media and flash my new car and my new ring that I just bought, and my kids need soap that good soap, so they're not ashy and have to use half the bottle of lotion, the dollar store lotion that I got for them. If I buy myself Victoria's Secret and Dove, why am I buying my kids Crest and dollar store Avo? Why am I buying my kids dollar store soap, and I got $10 and $20 soap, designer soap? My kids got shoes on that hurts their feet and hurts their back, but I go out and buy mink, Gucci, because I got to look good. And they're kids, they're going to tear up stuff easy. Get them stuff that won't tear up. And teach them how to be princes and prince, so that in your business you won't spend money and have to spend a whole bunch of money. And you eating your seed up because you're not actually spending wise, being wise, and being effective in your spending. That was point number 3. Point number 4, and we're gonna get out of here real soon. Can I have about 2 preacher minutes? Some people are still hanging in here with us. Thank you all for sharing. But about two more preacher minutes, and then we're gonna wrap things up here. Excuse me. Those that wear glasses know the struggle. All right. When we look at the part of this part of being effective, number 4, renew your perspective about your reachability and modernize the classics. If you've not gotten anything else, catch this. Modernize the classics. The who, what, the when, and the why. Can I modernize the classic pieces of just being effective? The classic pieces of just being effective. The who, the what, the when, the why. How much reachability am I going to have if I define who I'm reaching, what I'm reaching for, when I'm reaching them, and why I'm reaching them? I gotta begin to renew my perspective on the who. These are my target audience, beginning to actually go after and try to renew. And then the what. The what is actually what I'm doing in my business that can make it most effective. The when. What times of day can I study market analysis and find out when do I need to put out content? When do I not need to put out content? What season of the year, or what season of the month, what holidays are coming up? How can I repurpose my approach to make sure that I'm actually reaching the maximum amount of people? That by itself, point number 4, is like a whole different video all by itself, and we may just do a sequel to this real soon. But the who, what, the when, and why, modernizing the classics is very, very important. When we look at, we're just going to cover the points so we can close out for tonight. And then number 5 is refocus. I've got to refocus. You refocus your attention about money management. Are you really willing to make an investment in training, new opportunities, and new connections? Are you really, really willing? Because if I'm not willing to make these investments in actual training, and I know all that I know, I'm not going to be effective in actually learning something new or wanting to learn something new. Man, this has been Bible and Business. We want to make sure that we save enough time for questioning and answering. If someone does have questioning, someone does have questions, I want to make sure that I answer those. You can put those questions in the comments just to kind of wrap us up. So we wrap up in our last. We wanted to make sure that we have our 2-hour business segment, but we wanted to make sure that we have enough time for everyone to chime in. Now I know that some people are up watching Netflix. I can see the notifications going off on my phone. Some people are up watching Netflix. They're sharing the little games on there. They're doing all types of things. But when it comes to making money in their business, this type of stuff isn't a priority for them. So training isn't a priority for them. That's why a lot of people fail in business, is because they don't actually want to make the investment in training. They don't want to hear instruction on different areas on how to actually do. Now, this isn't, of course, fussing at those of us that are here, but it just goes to show you how much people actually want. If they want to know something, they'll come and learn it. But if they don't, some people they'll of course they do all kind of things on their time. I'm so glad I'm not just blowing hot air out there, but some people are actually getting it, and they're saying, thank you for this, thank you, thank you, thank you. But when people want to go out and do what they want to do, they go and do it. They don't ask you permission to do it. They just go and do it. So those of you that are here and that have stood here and say, hey, I'm actually learning something, and I'm grateful for learning something. This is the type of stuff, and that's it. But it's no charge for it tonight. It's no charge. Those that want to donate, I've put the giving information in the description. It's $, the DNW on Cash App, and then for giving is bit.ly/DNW give, and that's in the description. But if people like to donate, of course, but this information, I know for a fact that people don't give it for free, especially what we covered a little bit earlier. They don't give it for free. You have to pay master classes and all types of courses to get this stuff, and they wouldn't do and sit in front of a camera for 2 hours and give you content that they charge $9.97 to get in a course that they probably are only going to teach about 20-25 minutes. The other bit, they're going to show you videos and clips and brag about what they've done in business and how many, convince you by using, convincing sales and scarcity sales on, this is what others are saying about such and such and such. And they're just going to show you a bunch of videos and but they're not actually going to give you the bag. Tonight, I want to give you the bag so you can fill it up. Is that all right? I want to give you the bag so you can fill it up. This is your bag tonight. I think I've given a lot of content here, enough content here that somebody can make an effective decision about, hey, I need to make some changes. Think about with you and your spouse. Is you and your queen or you and your king, are you going to tear each other down? Or are you going to build an entire dominion, a whole kingdom around what you're doing? You can build an entire empire in business. And both of you can be multimillionaires and asset millionaires. You can both be I'm telling you, you can do this thing together. but you can't fight each other. If you are gifted and blessed to be married, because see, it's better to be single wishing you were married rather than being married wishing you were single. But if you are blessed to be married, that takes out half the struggle right there. Because you got a balance being then. As a single person, you have to find the balance. You got to make sure you stay balanced. You stay balanced with this, that. But think about this in your business with your spouse. We talked about the investment in your training and new opportunities, but in new connections. Think about how can you connect and make a more effective connection in your household to complement each other's businesses. You might be doing a completely different business, a completely different genre or category. What can your business do for your spouse's business? Think about that. Can you send customers? You can just by word of mouth referral. Oh, my husband does this. My wife does this. You can refer customers, all your customers. You can keep flowing. And guess what? That creates community, common unity. And it also creates common wealth. The whole house is benefiting off of but of course you stand behind your spouse, and when they see that, of course the person's like, well, yeah, they're amazing at what they do. Of course I'm going to patronize their spouse too. People will pay for a good experience. People will pay for good experiences. If I am if I am trying to go out there and look for a balance beam, and I do it the wrong way, if you are blessed to be, somebody say, I'm blessed to be single. Yes. Because they're different strokes for different folks as well. Some people work very well, complement each other. But if you are married and God has blessed you with a spouse, make sure you're effective in your exchanges with each other. How can you effectively strategize and grow your wealth together? How can you effectively strategize? I'm really excited about the upcoming things that we have, especially in our ministry at Rebirth, to have the Marriage Alive conference. To actually show the proponent of relationships, we're not trying to marry off and get every single person to be hitched up, and hooked up. Although at conferences, it happens. People meet each other and they say, hey, I met at Dr. Wells' conference and we got married. We had kids. We got a house. I've had people to, say in years past, hey, I met at his conference and I did such and such and such. But I recognize that there are people that everyone's not going to be married. And that's got to be, you've still got to be as effective, just as effective. But, of course, being single, it's going to take more work balancing. Your thing isn't getting the work done. You could do the work, but you've got to balance that. When you get back home to yourself, you've got to balance that and make sure that you're not giving too much of your time to certain things and not having enough time to rest. With a spouse, husbands, if your wife tells you, hey, could you please rest a little bit? And your spouse is giving you all the clues, and honey, I need to do such and such. Don't talk to your wife like that. Women are wired emotionally, and you just got to accept the fact about that. Men are wired based on structure. You got to accept the fact about that. So if you talking to him crazy and demeaning, he's basically gonna be a dull dog. But if you honor and respect the fact of the effort that he's going, even if he's not the best at doing what he does, if you just honor the effort that he tries to do, and you build him, if you the bad mama jam like you say you are, and you can handle business, build that man up and make him stand shoulders tall, broad shoulders. He walk out the house, make sure we got the picture. We don't have to go into detail. We got the picture. Make sure he wants to come back home. Make sure he knows when he coming back home, where he coming back home to. Why he loves being home so much. His safe haven. When he lays down, he don't lay down with a headache. He don't get up with a headache, screaming and hollering. When she lays down, make sure she don't lay down on a box spring. That she has a nice bed to lay down, and some pillows, and some nice cozy sheets, and she ain't freezing her feet off. There's a balance to this thing. Both have got to complement each other. Make sure she don't feel those springs in that bed. If she got to flip 2 and 3 times in the bed, well, we won't go there. We won't go there. We won't go there. But those springs can hurt her, and she can feel them. Make sure you have, it's a pillow top or something. If you're young and restless, we'll just leave it as that. Feel like somebody's laughing now. Make sure she don't feel those springs. Amen, man of God. Make sure she don't feel those springs. We already know what we got kids listening, but we already know what we make sure, and she can be effective and willing more if you make her comfortable. But we got people, when they come home, they don't feel like getting in the bed. They don't feel like going to bed. They're like, that bed hurts. The pillow hurt. Everything hurts. So why should I go in there? They don't want to go in the bed. They're already mad. They don't want to tell you. That's it. That's it. Close on the mattress. We recognize and make sure you got some clothes on the mattress. We got to make sure, because we recognize that, you can be an amazing businessman, but what kind of home man are you? What kind of home woman are you? It starts at home, and how to grow your business and refocus all of your intentions. You're not going to be effective in business if you don't have a nice home. You got to get that house together. And if we got to fight every week and we got to scream at each other and yell every week, guess what? God's not blessing our business because we just cursed each other. So the curses are going to flow because we cursing each other out of our own mouth. You prophesied that over your own household. That's why it manifested. We've been doing real good, but it manifested because you prophesied it. And your words are very prophetic. Whatever you speak, it manifests. So expect God to move based on what you said. And of your spouse, you're flesh of their flesh and bone of their bone. If you curse them, guess what? What you're doing is you're cursing what God actually implemented and placed on your life. Amen. So think about that. Amen. So we don't want to prolong the time. If there are no further questions, I want to thank everyone for being a part on tonight. I want to thank everyone for, of course, coming on live with us. We have we're right at our time where we're about to close out. We have a 2-hour window when we do these type trainings. If there are no questions, let's see here. Let's scroll back up. If I don't believe I've seen any more questions, if there are, we can put them in there now, and we'll get some before we go. Let's see here. All right. Just making double sure. Right. Just making sure before we close out. And then we're going to pray, and then we're going to go home. All right. Or some are maybe already home. I'm going to go home when if there are no further questions. All right. So without further ado, let's close out. And now, if you'd like to be a blessing and you like to donate, and at any rate, the giving information is in the screen. It's Cash App symbol the DNW, and then it is it is also bit.ly/DNW give. You can go there and give there. So this, of course, tonight is there's no registration fee for this. This is, of course, from the kindness of my heart, just something that we do every quarter, and we want to make sure that everyone, of course, gets as much. If you feel as if this is of value to you, and you want to continue in learning and continue in getting some updates, we will be starting a new cycle in our mailing list. It will come out this upcoming Saturday, Small Business Saturday. If you like to do that, the link for that is in the description. You can click there and sign up on the mailing list, and you will get all the notifications going forward in all that we mention in our videos and our content. So if you like to do that, you can, of course, you're invited to do that as well. So without further ado, thank you all so much that enjoyed the content on the night, enjoyed the teaching. Those that would like to review, this video is going to stay up. If you like to go on and review this, or go on and if you want to just kind of repattern what you've seen on tonight already. All right, so the Lord bless you and keep you is my prayer. Let's pray, and we're going to go on. Father, we just pray, God, that you would allow and thank you for the entrance of your word and the entrance of teaching, instruction, all those that have benefited from this on tonight. I just pray, God, that you would allow us to enter into a time of application. Thank you, God, that we're not just hearers of the word, but we're doers of the word. And tonight, although we've combined Bible and business together, I pray, God, that we can mend, of course, those areas in our lives to make us more effective, personal areas in our lives to make us more efficient, so that we're more effective and efficient in business and in ministry together. We want to make sure that Bible and business is not just a topic for discussion, but we are actually living out Bible and business as a proponent of our lives. Thank you for allowing us to investigatively strategize our lives to make it more beneficial to the kingdom of God. And I pray, God, that as we are going forth in everything that we are to do next, God, that you would give us clarity, you would give us an enhanced approach to what you would have us to do. Thank you for all that you're about to release in our lives and do through our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen. Amen. So all those that have viewed, of course, you can still share, and all those that will be on the replay, we'd like to thank you for tuning in as well. Thank you so much. And of course, if you like to sign up on the mailing list, that is in the description. If you like to donate, that is also in the description. Amen. The Lord bless you and keep you is my prayer. God bless.